Subscribers to NewOrleans.Football get access to the live taping of every single one of these shows, all of our news and analysis, the members-only podcast, and so much more. So make sure you are signed up to NewOrleans.Football. Use the code NOF, save 20% on your first payment, and get locked in for the whole entire season. All right, welcome back to another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. We got a great show for you guys today. Erik McCoy stops by our studio, and that's our studio on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, right next door to my guy, Matt Bowers. If you are in the market for a new car, make sure you go and check him out at one of his many locations all throughout the region. He has great prices, great customer care. You will have a fantastic car buying experience. But yeah, make sure you stick around for that. McCoy's going to be here after the break to talk to us about the offensive line, Kubiak, and so much more. We're going to talk about some grades that ESPN handed out, saying that the Saints didn't have a great offseason and what our take is on that. So stick around for all that and more after this quick word from our sponsors. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Time for a new watch? Go check out Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' wide array of Breitling watches at their showroom on Maple Street. They have every type of watch that you want, and they can get you right for any type of occasion. And while you're there, check out their engagement salon. They'll make sure you find the perfect ring for that special someone. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect watch, ring, or whatever else you're looking to buy. Visit them today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett, 504-866-5433, or visit them at friendandcompany.com. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show. I'm Nick Underhill here with Mike Triplett and Brandon Thomas, and it's now time for the lead presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers is the official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints. And if you need a new watch, make sure you go and check them out. They got all kinds of a great array, a great selection of Breitling watches. They'll get you right. Make sure you're on time with a great timepiece. And if you need a ring, check out their engagement salon. They have all kinds of great stuff. All your jewelry needs, make sure you go and check them out at their location on Maple Street.
All right, let's get into the lead topic. Let's grade the Saints' offseason. ESPN gave them a D, and that was it too harsh? I think it kind of was too harsh. ESPN, they went through and they graded every NFL team's offseason, and the Saints were at the bottom of the list along with the Raiders. So what do we think? Was it too harsh?
Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, it's too harsh, obviously. I get it. I get what it's like to look at the Saints from afar. Forget afar. The Saints fan base is lethargic. They were very disappointed last year. They stopped showing up. The Saints are in a little bit of a stuck in the mud rut right now. They brought mostly everybody back. And look, I know Seth Walter really well, who did this. He's one of their top analytics people there, and he's looking at what everyone did, and this is the viewpoint he took. The Saints are addicted to mediocrity. That was his lead. But I think people just need to get over this concept that the Saints need to tear it down and rebuild. Like, I don't know why everyone wants them to become the Carolina Panthers so bad. He gave we're going to talk about it later. I'm going to look it up here in a sec. A B to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just re-signed Baker Mayfield. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the same record as the Saints last year. They re-signed Baker Mayfield for $40 million. And they get a B? Like, what is the difference between that and this? And actually, Tampa Bay lost star players like Devin White. Saints didn't lose anyone essential. They did let some guys go, like Marcus May and Andrus Peat and Isaac Yiadom. And guess what? That is saving money, like everyone wants them to do. We've talked a lot on this show about how we like that the Saints did not throw in the towel, still have a chance if everything goes right to win this division, maybe finish 9-7, maybe finish 10-6. I think hiring Clint Kubiak can help them do that. But they didn't spend a lot of money. They didn't trade future draft resources. They added Chase Young, a young guy we're excited about. I'm actually pretty startled by this. I would think even if you are one of the people who wants the Saints to stop living in the past and start catching up and protect their future, I thought they kind of did that this year.
I don't really think you can write this, right? I don't think you can write these lines because they don't make sense to me. The team ought to be shedding as much salary as it can and converting the low-salary players into draft capital via trades to jumpstart a full rebuild. Instead, the Saints are running it back with a 9-8 team led by Carr. The team's big move in free agency was signing Young to a one-year, fully guaranteed $13 million deal, a move I like. So shed salary or add salary? Like, which one do you want them to do? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Killing them for not trading veterans with veterans. Like,
that was the move I disliked, failing to trade veterans. Like, he wanted Cam Jordan, DeMario Davis, Alvin Kamara off the team.
Who are you trading Cam Jordan to?
Yeah. I mean, did he want him to trade Marshawn? Did he want him to trade Alvin, DeMario? I mean, Tyron? I mean, people want the full rebuild. People don't like middle. Yeah, and we've talked about this a lot too. Like, the Saints just firmly believe, hey, if we can win 9 or 10 games, we're going to try to win 9 or 10 games. There are fans of the Saints who disagree with that philosophy, and there are analysts who disagree with that philosophy.
But I mean, they didn't really double down on it.
They didn't double down.
Like, they didn't keep like, I don't know, like the addicted to mediocrity. Well, like, they didn't really, they added Chase Young. Yeah. And then, like, if anything, that's a move that keeps them kind of protects where they're at. And then you say you like it. Yeah. So,
and he's 24 years old.
So is it tear it down or does it stay? Like, I don't know. Like, it just kind of feels like, I think there's just people that have had a notion about the Saints for many years, and it's just like starting to be right, and now they're like, aha, like I got them, like I was right all along, but it's like you weren't. Like, I don't know, I just don't like this analysis. It just
right,
I don't know, it just feels a little inconsistent to me.
It's their reputation. Like I said, we're actually going to talk about the other NFC South teams in a minute, but like the other NFC South teams got better grades, and they paid more for Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. It's like, how is that not addicted to mediocrity? It's the same concept as what the Saints did with Derek Carr. I get it. There are two schools of thought. We know it. We know it in this fan base very well. Some people don't like chasing middle of the pack. The other day we were talking about Dennis Allen, and we brought up Jim Haslett. I mean, it was the Saints for a long time, and you could walk up and buy a ticket for $10 when they were finishing 8-8 every year. I get it, but I actually think they should have pleased the people who hate what they're doing this offseason, because they didn't double down like you said.
I just feel like they have two tradable assets, and I think their two tradable assets are Marshawn and Alvin, just given where they're at in their careers and what they would actually bring back. Like, if you're trading DeMario, like, you probably aren't getting the time for him because he's at a later stage of his career. Yeah. You're getting, like, I don't think Cam has any trade value. Yep. Same thing with Tyron. I think he's with DeMario, and that it's probably better to have him. Like, the cultural aspect. And guess what
they did with DeMario and Tyron? They got them to agree to pay cuts. They saved some money.
The cultural aspect, I think, of having those guys outweighs the 4th or 5th round pick that you're probably going to get to bring them back. Marshawn was available for trade. They didn't get a good return on that. So, like, if they trade Marshawn for pennies on the dollar, like, that's probably a bad move too. So, if you're just trading somebody for the sake of trading them, you can't. So, like, the thing that they want them to do, like, that player was available. Nobody gave him a trade that was worthwhile to actually get an asset that helps you with a rebuild. So it just kind of feels like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But I just don't agree with the addicted to mediocrity, doubling down on it, whatever. Like, to me, it felt like they were trying to get out of it a little bit. And again, adding Chase Young to that mix, like, kind of keeps him there. So I just don't know. I don't get it, but it is what it is. I mean, for me, like, I felt like it was, I thought they had a decent draft, and I felt like the approach to the offseason made sense to me. It kind of felt like, to me, it felt like a step away from doing the same thing that they've been doing. So to me, I kind of give, I don't know, like, my thing would be, like, if I wanted them to do something, it would have been doing more or something. But, like, they tried to go more the other direction. No one wanted to meet them there. I'd probably give the offseason like a B-, a C. Like, it was fine. It was a fine offseason to me.
Yeah, I like B- too. Now, one thing, I don't know if ESPN factored this in. The ones I read didn't seem to. But the big move they made, obviously, is changing offensive schemes, offensive coordinators. And I think we all kind of think of that as a home run. We have an interview with Erik McCoy coming up where he's obviously one of pretty much every offensive player in the locker room is very excited about what that could do for the team. That could be bigger than the Falcons signing Kirk Cousins, to be honest, if it hits. And we are giving them credit this offseason. So the fact that they did not spend new money, saved money on DeMario, saved money on Tyron, saving money on Ryan Ramczyk, unfortunately, for reasons that they didn't anticipate happening, but are saving money there. And the only money they spent was on Chase Young, who's turning 25 this offseason, could be a future asset. Did not trade future draft picks away. I mean, it's kind of exactly what I wanted to see, short of doing what the Panthers did. If they're like, no, we still want to give ourselves a chance to win the division, but at the same time, we don't want to trade away major future assets. It's almost a little best of both worlds. I mean, B- because they didn't make game-changing moves, but it's between a B- and a B for me, not a B- and a C.
I'm not surprised to see the Eagles at the top of this list. I mean, that's kind of always
they're
what
written
happens.
in pen at the top of any
like
list
everybody.
Like this.
But like, you see safety signing for $1 million, and they just paid one $9 million a year, worth up to 11. They
paid a running back.
That's a great move. They paid a running back. Like, it's just kind of you see what people It's just the same narratives over and over.
The B- puts them at the same level as Carolina, Denver, Green Bay, Houston, and the Rams. So I feel like, that's a pretty fair assessment.
Yeah. B-, C, whatever. Like, it's just kind of, I don't know. Like,
and look, I predicted the Saints to finish 8-9. I'm picking them to go from 9-8 to 8-9 this year. I'm not saying they overhaul their team, but I think they made small, smart improvements in a few areas where they could improve without doubling or tripling down. Like, people are acting like they signed Jarris Byrd again this offseason. Like, they didn't do that. Like,
whatever represents unremarkable is where I want to put my grade.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, up next, we have our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Sticking with this topic on grading the offseason, we had a Twitter submission from Snorkio on Twitter, and they asked us to check in on the rest of the NFC South. So let's take a look at the grades on the rest of the NFC South and see where they stack up against the Saints.
This is the one that blows me away, and not to pick on this one too much, but I think Tampa Bay took 3 steps backward this offseason. Now, Tampa Bay might still win the division because they've done it 3 years in a row. They've stayed a step ahead of the Saints, and they actually rebuilt a little. They kind of did a little bit of what the Saints did last offseason, where they caught up on their salary cap and said, we're just going to go field the best team we can. Maybe it'll be good enough to win. And it was good enough to win. So that's sort of the model for what the Saints did. But this year, they, instead of paying Baker Mayfield $4 million, they're paying him, $33 million now. So that stinks. Dave Canales, who is the guy who was the wizard for Baker Mayfield last year, leaves and takes the Panthers head coaching job. They lose Devin White, who is, one of their 2 or 3 best players. Ryan Jensen, their best offensive lineman, retires. They lost Shaq Barrett. I think they lost a couple other guys that were helping. And they got a B on this list. I feel like, and they had to pay Antoine Winfield to keep him. They had to pay Mike Evans, an older player, to keep him. I feel like Tampa Bay is the team that's kind of hanging on and had to overpay to kind of hang on. I feel like they had a worse offseason than the Saints, but Atlanta obviously had they've got a young nucleus. They needed a new head coach, got a new head coach, needed a new offensive system, got a new offensive system, needed a quarterback, got 2 in Kirk Cousins, and drafting Michael Penix Jr. And then Carolina, I just don't think they're back yet. I don't know if I like Atlanta's offseason or not, but I think Atlanta gave themselves at least a chance by addressing what's been missing for them.
Has anybody looked at Atlanta's defense? Like, does anybody look at their defense?
No.
Are they going to have a good defense? Like, do they have any good players? They have Jesse Bates, and they got
Bates was a great addition
Terrell,
for them last year.
And who else? Who else do they have?
Grady Jackson's going to miss half the season.
Like their best, like David Onyemata's like their best player. I don't think Caden Ellis fits their defensive scheme. Like I don't think they have a good defense. They might be really bad on that side of the ball. Like I just feel like that kind of gets overlooked a lot. It's just I like their offense. I kind of like their direction, but I think they have a really bad. They could potentially have a bad defense, and I just don't think anybody calculates that when they're saying they're gonna run away with the division. I don't know. Like they got to stop some people. We'll see.
Yeah. The Panthers, they swung for the fences, so they're kind of doing a full shakeup. What do you think they're going to do this year? What do you think?
I mean, look, everything they did in Carolina and the stories you're reading, the reader question you referenced asked, what's the buzz around these teams after OTA's minicamp? And, of course, everything's positive everywhere, but Carolina is one big obvious thing that they have to do. They got to get Bryce Young on track. And
they got the right coach.
Everything they did. They hired Dave Canales, the QB whisperer who just fixed Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield the last 2 years. They spent a ton of money in free agency on offensive linemen. They signed 2 big offensive linemen and actually took some big hits on defense. They traded away Brian Burns. They lost some players on defense. I think their defense, which has been really good, is going to take a step back. But they were just like Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt, trade for Deontay Johnson, the receiver. They're like, how can we make Bryce Young work? How can we make Bryce Young work? How can we make Bryce Young work? And that's what the offseason stories are about. Obviously, he's showing some maturity. They say they like what they're seeing from him. That's ultimately going to decide if that team goes anywhere.
Let's go to our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Sticking on Twitter, Demario Davis, he posed an interesting thing on Twitter the other day. He asked people to name the top 5 players who would be elite on offense. So that would be the defensive players. He nominated himself for the honor. So on the Saints, who do you think could, change up and be effective?
I mean, everybody, you guys have seen the picture like Marshawn making that catch as a wide receiver. Like he was a good wide receiver. So I think it's Marshawn for sure. There's that picture of him like leaping up and making a catch in high school.
Oh no, blocking a punt is his classic, but he got up for it.
Yeah. But he made a ton of plays in high school as a wide receiver. Like I think it's obviously Marshawn.
I was thinking Marshawn too, just because I think he's the most talented player, and so I think he can make plays on offense if he didn't make plays on defense. I was trying to think of which guy could be the tight end because I still want the big physical pass catching tight end. Can Peyton Turner? Is that the way to say
that's who I was about to think, but I was like,
throw him out there?
I don't know about all of that.
Obviously, Colin Saunders would want to get mentioned here. He swears but I can't argue with the Marshawn pick. I was thinking my first 2 thoughts were I feel like Marshawn or Tyron would make plays, but Tyron would be such a small, shifty receiver. Marshawn's get a little height, a little size to him, and we've seen him win some contested catches. I like that pick.
I think Alante, he'll make a good receiver.
All right.
Marshawn was definitely on my list, but I think Alante will make a good receiver. And I talked to Bing a couple weeks ago about another project that I'm working on, and he was like, well, actually, I'm a skill player. And I was like, all right. And so I just wanted to hear him cook. And he was like, no, bro, like I'm a running back. I'm this, I'm that. So I think, I don't know, maybe like a Mike Tolbert type. We'll see.
What? So wait, DeMario nominated himself. Nominated himself. What is DeMario doing for the offense? Are you just handing him the football and letting him kind of plow through?
So.
Physical run. I mean, could he beat Mark Ingram?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll give him that.
Definitely could do that.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into the interview with Erik McCoy, and then we'll hit the Martin's question of the day. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000.
Are you tired of renting and ready to own your dream home? Contact Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, your trusted source for home loans. Our competitive rates and flexible terms can help make your home ownership dreams a reality. If you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, our experienced lenders are here to help. Our online application process allows you to apply on your schedule. It's quick, easy, and convenient. Visit us online at jeffersonfinancial.org to learn more. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Welcome back to our studio on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our next segment presented by Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. We had Erik McCoy in studio today. The Saints center sat down with us and talked about his thoughts on the new offense and more. Here's that interview.
All right, we got a special guest in here, Erik McCoy. Look, thank you for coming here. We always love to talk to you in the locker room, obviously in studio, both because you're so good with your time, but also your insight. So thank you so much for coming, man. We spent hours in these chairs trying to dissect everything about this new offense, why it's going to work for the Saints, what it's going to look like. Tell us after spending 6-8 weeks in it, what stands out about this new offensive system?
Yeah. Well, I'll just start off saying that I don't want to be the guy to overhype things.
Yeah.
Because I've done things like that in the past, but I can say that I am very excited about it. And it's been longer than 6 to 8 weeks, it feels like. Because, OTAs was, 5 weeks? But even before that, we were getting in consistent walkthroughs, consistent meeting time. And I think Coach Kubiak did a really good job of making sure that we understood the basis of the offense. But I think it's something that can be really special. And I've said for years, watching teams like the Niners, like the Dolphins, the Texans this last year, that is a beautiful offense. And it is very O-line friendly, just being honest. You get to run the ball a lot. You get to play action a lot. I feel like that takes a little bit of the pressure off to be perfect in protection. And then if you look at the running backs and what the ground game has looked like in these offenses, these guys are putting up numbers. And I think we have an opportunity to do the same thing.
It's been kind of my personal obsession. I feel like you can pinpoint a lot of the problems that this offense has had in the last couple of years. As simple as 1st and 10 runs. It's 2nd and 9. It's 2nd and 10, and leads to 3rd and long. Mm-hmm. Why does this scheme, why is it going to particularly help this offense and some of the struggles we've seen in recent years?
Yeah, I think the amount of motion that's used is something that'll be really beneficial. And then the fact, watching the receivers and hearing the coaching points, you can't tell if it's a run or a pass. And I feel like that is something that'll be beneficial just in terms of, that's what I'm looking for, not giving anything away to the defense, formationally, and just keeping guys on their toes.
We kind of seen a slight shift to some of these ideologies last year with the motion and the play action and all that. Why do those things help in particular you guys on the offensive line?
Yeah, I think any time where you don't have to drop back 40 times a game, that's going to be beneficial. I don't mean to overstate O-line play, but anytime where you have to sit back and drop back 30, 35, 40 times a game, guys are going to lose. It's going to happen. It's NFL. You're blocking the best players in the world. So just getting a mix-up and a change-up in that, I think it'll be really beneficial. And I've said that a couple times already, but like pass blocking is hard.
Yeah.
Like, like yeah, you think about it. You're going backwards trying to stop somebody coming full speed forwards. Like that's not an easy task. And a lot of times to win, your set has to be perfect. Your hands have to be perfect. Your recovery ability has to be perfect. When you're playing guys like Aaron Donald, I know he's retired, but Chris Jones, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, like these guys have rush plans too. Like these guys are good players too. So yeah, I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but yeah.
No,
It seems kind of self-explanatory, but it seems like watching the 49ers and Miami, Houston, like they aren't really getting into deep drops until it's like third down. Like that has to be something when you're watching some of these teams too, as an offensive lineman, that has to be pretty appealing.
Oh yeah, I love it. Like I can't tell you how much I love it. Like not getting into like a true deep drop until it's third down or until you're in 2 minute takes so much stress away. Like given when you run the ball and when you do these play actions, like you have to sell the hell out of them. Like you can't BS them. Like you can't. Oh, I'm gonna wait to see what he's gonna do. Like you have to fire off the ball and convince them that it's a run as well. But it's still not as stressful as playing Tampa, who's in Bear the entire game, and it's one-on-ones all across the board, and you have to win every rep for it to work. So,
putting the scheme aside for a little bit, can you tell me just a little bit about Clint Kubiak as a coach? Like a little bit about his personality, his coaching style. Like how has that transition been?
I love Clint. I think he's awesome. I think he's a great person, a great coach, and a great teacher. Like he's about his business. Like no doubt, he's about his business. Like he's also just a generally good guy to be around, and you can tell that he loves the game. Like guy eats, sleeps, breathes football. So,
what about John Bitten? He's been in the system since Gary Kubiak. He's had like Arian Foster in Houston. Just what are some things that you've learned from him?
Yeah, JB's great, man. He keeps us laughing. That's what I'll say. But also a great coach, a great technician as well. And I think that he is going to take our young players to another level, especially because he's been in the system for so long. He's coached so many guys through this system. And yeah.
We heard all about the Sean Payton play calls forever and what they sounded like. What is the difference in kind of just the verbiage of this offense, and how's that adjustment been?
Well, we went from Sean. Play calls are extendo, long. We loosened the verbiage a little bit, put it into a couple one-word plays, and I think in this offense there's actually a nice mix. Like you'll have plays that are like telling everybody what to do, and then you have your one-worders as well. You know, for tempo, for just so it's not 22 words to call the play. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about that, but
Just the last offense with the hurry up stuff. Like, did the hand signals and stuff ever change? Like, what was the process with trying to change that stuff up? And then I don't know. Now you guys got like the one word, so I'm assuming maybe that'll be a little bit different when you go to it.
hand signals were not a thing for me. That was more to receivers, backs, all those things. Like, my sister would actually talk about those all the time. She's like, what is he doing when he's like this? I'm like, I have no clue. He's telling the receiver something.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, speaking, like, when we get to our 2 minute, like, we already have those plays installed, and he just gives us the one word for it, and then we roll. So it's not like he has to run up and call a protection every time or things of that nature. Like, he gives us this, and we know the protection, and we roll off of that. I feel like that saves time, especially in those situations.
All right. Ever since the moment where you yelled at Derek Carr last year, he threw 14 touchdown passes with just one interception, had the best passer rating in the NFL. So, look, I'm not over dramatizing that moment. Those are real stats, and I just want to know, like, we did see an adjustment period with chemistry with his receivers, how everyone communicates with each other, and it feels like all that stuff is really good this offseason. Like, what do you see from how big of a deal it is that the quarterback is now here in year 2?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, even though it is a new offense, like, I feel like anytime where you are the guy for so long and then you have to transition to somewhere else, like, it's going to be different. Like, if I got to year 8, 9, 10 and the Saints were like, hey, get up out of here, or they trade me, or they cut me, or whatever happens, my contract expires and they don't renew it, like, and I had to go somewhere else, that would be an adjustment. Like that would be a huge change for me. Like my whole life is here, like everything is here. I'm just trying to relate it back to myself, like saying like that could be hard. But ultimately, like I know Derek and I know Derek's heart, and he wants what is best for this team. Like the guy is a winner through and through. He's a great teammate, a great friend, and like I'm excited for what he can do this year.
No, I think we see that. I think he's conveying that this offseason. I think it stands out. The other buzzword we've heard a lot about is accountability. I think players were talking about it in the locker room last year. I know management was talking about it after the season, about speeches they gave to players. How much did that need to improve, and how much have you already seen that improving this offseason?
Yeah, I've said it a couple times to different media members, but I think from a coaching standpoint, like I think there's a noticeable difference just in our offensive meetings. Like you get to see kind of the intricacies of every position, and that position coach and offensive coordinator holding that player or position group accountable. I think that's really cool to see, just because it's not something that I feel like I've really seen a lot of in the past. But yeah, then I think one of my personal big challenges this offseason was to be a better leader. Like, okay, there's a C on your chest, but what are you doing to actually not earn it, but display that? Like, I feel like traditionally being a lead by example guy, like I'm gonna do the right thing and assume that others will follow, being a more vocal person and holding everyone else accountable. And I think that starts with the leaders, but then like there's different tiers. Like Caesar is a 5-year tenured vet in the offensive line room, second oldest guy, has played for however long. Like even though I might wear a C, he still has to assume that same responsibility throughout the offensive line room, even amongst, like I'm trying to think of how to explain it, even amongst the rookies. Like they have to have that accountability to themselves and to each other. Like I think that's only leaving room for growth for each one of us.
So, like, do you go talk to Caesar about that? Like, is that kind of some of the stuff you're putting on your shoulders now?
Yeah, no doubt. Because like it's hard and it's different to keep. But I think we have 16 guys in the room right now. Like making sure that they're doing the right thing all the time. Yeah. Like, nah, bro. If you see something and I don't see it, call it out. Talk to that. You don't have to call it out. Talk to that person, whether it's at an individual level or whether it's in the room, or like call out what you see is wrong.
How's that been for you? Like just kind of stepping outside of what's kind of natural for yourself?
It's been different, that's for sure. And I'm learning a ton because I try not to be an angry guy, but there's times where I get upset, and I don't ever want to yell at a teammate or unless it's Caesar. Me and Caesar yell at each other all the time. It's stupid. We yell at each other all the time. But yeah, I think just kind of like stepping outside of my comfort zone and being like, yo, bro, like that wasn't right. We need to do that rep again. Or you need to do that rep again if you're working by yourself or whatever. And we have to each push each other to consistently pursue a model of perfection. And I feel like that's the only thing that will truly make our offensive line great.
Is that a change you recognize yourself, or did somebody kind of say, hey, like, Eric, like you're the guy now, like you got to do this?
I would say it's kind of a combination of both. Like wearing the C on my chest, like I'm like, okay, I need to grow, and I recognize that I need to grow in that area. But then like whoever it is, different people have been like, hey man, we can hear your voice a little bit more, and so a nudge and an internal want to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now you are kind of the vet in the room. There's some new guys and some guys trying to lock down spots on the line. Just kind of what's been your take on Fuaga and Saldivari and Penning as they try to take on new positions and move into the starting roles?
Yeah. First off, I think Tolly can be a really, really good freaking player in this league. I think he's super freaking talented. And honestly pretty polished already for a rookie. Like a lot of guys come in and, they're kind of like projects. Like you have to learn, you have to work. Like you don't know what they're going to be. Even switching from right tackle to left tackle, like I'm like, damn, bro. Like you got it.
Awesome.
You got it. And I think if he just keeps his head on straight, bro, and works his ass off every day, he can be a really good player for a long time. Nick, another guy. I mean, battled injuries last year, had surgeries at the end of the season, and I think completely changed his body throughout the offseason. And I walk up next to him like, damn, you're a big ass dude, bro. I think he has all of the physical talent in the world, and he just has to put it together in camp. That's not to say that he's not doing that already, but just coming off of a season of injury, rehabbing through it all, he's going to be on it. And, I know that he's a guy that works his ass off to do those things because he did it all offseason to get healthy and to change his body and to mentally get himself in the right place in terms of coming off an injury. Who else? Trevor. Oh, yeah, Trevor, switching to right tackle. I would say he's looked good so far, and I think that this scheme will be beneficial to him, especially if it is what I think it's going to be, because he's big, he's strong, and he can run block his ass off. So, yeah, I'm excited for him, too, and I'm excited for what this offense can do for his career and his trajectory, because I think, truthfully, what happened last year was hard.
Yeah.
You were injured your entire first year. You missed out on a ton of development time. Your second year, you come in, you play 4 games. Your first game, you struggle. I get it. You're coming off injury. It's hard. And just the mental challenge of having to get back into that, I would say that he's in a good space right now. And I think moving to right and the confidence that this new coaching staff is instilling in him can change the trajectory of his career.
And that left guard spot, there's been a lot of turnover since you've been here. What's it like for you every time that you have to start playing with someone new? Is there a chemistry period? Is there learning how to communicate? What's it kind of like putting a new guy in there?
I mean, kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm at the point in my career where whoever you put next to me, we got to go ball. That just is what it is. Of course, there's little communication things, little communication cues. Sometimes when me and Caesar are working together, I don't have to say anything, and we just know what we're going to do. So sometimes you just have to exacerbate the communication, exacerbate the mic point a little bit more. Outside of that, you gotta go ball. You in there for a reason, no matter who you are.
We know these are your guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's your brothers. These are the people you go to war with, including yourself, pound for pound.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the most athletic offensive lineman on the team?
Jeez. Let me think for a second.
There's some choices here now.
There is.
Pound for pound is the key phrase.
Pound for pound.
Yeah. It's true. And I'm a little bit older now. I ain't. Listen. You catch me year 1, year 2.
Oh yeah.
I'm saying me, 100%. Year 3, me, 100%.
Over Armstead, yeah. I guess he was a little bit older at that point.
T-Stat was a little bit older.
Yeah.
T-Stat was a dog though. I'm trying to think. Gosh damn. Trevor's just a freaking unit. Caesar.
Yeah.
I can't say he's strictly out of pride. Let me keep thinking. Now I'm gonna say me still.
You?
Yeah,
You still got the title?
Me
It's a
still.
good choice.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good choice.
I mean, they got me in the weight room.
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie to you. Them boys stronger than me.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Them boys strong as hell.
Yeah.
But you put me, we talking just change of direction, sprint speed,
All of that.
that.
Athleticism.
I got them.
Come on.
I know for factor in weight room and athleticism, explosiveness.
Right.
They got me there.
They got you running-
I'll be honest with that.
They got y'all running 110s?
Who?
Because it's a combination of strength, speed, all of that. But you say in terms of direction, you got it?
Yeah.
All right.
They got me in strength though. It is what it is on that front. They got me.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to see all of the athleticism, but this offense should fit you, right? I mean, it should, right? You don't want to overhype. You started with that.
Yeah. Don't want to overhype, but I do think so. I mean, reaching shades has been something that I've been asked to do since I've been here, getting to the second level, and I think this offense will just exacerbate that. There will be more of it. And then, gosh dang, we got so many freaking screens installed. I'm still perfecting those because there's a lot of screens.
Yeah. Well,
which I think that'll get my bad.
No, I was going to say, no, go ahead.
Do you feel like guys or people like us, media in general, might be sleeping on you guys a little bit? You got this team, this talent, new offense. If everything fires the way it's supposed to,
I can't say that, but I can say that nobody talks about us, and that's a good thing. That's fine. That's okay. Yeah. Don't talk about it. It's just, and we don't need to do any talking. Like, we just need to go out there and play ball.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, we look forward to seeing it when you actually have pads on, when you bring another team into California to practice against each step along the way. But obviously, thank you very much for giving us more insight than we could imagine in here. So thanks a lot, man.
No doubt.
We appreciate Erik for coming in studio. And, after that, we got into like a little bit of a ping pong match. Just talk about it, Mike. What happened?
That was off the record. Neither me nor Erik would want to share the results of who won our ping pong.
I think Erik would be okay with it. But you held your own. You held your own, man.
It really came down to who served last. It was 9-9, and then he got the last three serves.
Yeah. No, you held your own. It was a good game. No, you showed out. You showed out for the squad, man.
Thanks, guys.
Stood in the arena with the pro athlete.
That's right.
That is true.
Hung in. Yeah.
Shout out to Mike, man.
Is ping pong a sport?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Definitely a sport. Definitely a sport. Well, now it's time for our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of handpicked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's so much more than just wine. Today's question comes from Chris Olave Stan. With the Saints looking to catch up cap space in the next couple of years, which players in the Saints' 2025 free agent class do you see them re-signing, and which players do you see walking next offseason?
All right, hold on. I got the list before we evaluate them. First of all, it's funny that this question comes from Chris Olave Stan, because the biggest decision they might have to make is whether, Chris Olave will be due for a contract extension. They'll have him on contract for 2 more years, and he'll be looking for that $30 million salary. But the guys who are actually free agents, Alvin Kamara, as we've said, depending on what they do with his deal, he's essentially going to be a free agent next year. Rashid Shaheed, Paulson Adebo, Chase. Rashid Shaheed will be a restricted free agent. Paulson Adebo, Chase Young, Pete Werner, Willie Gay, Jawan Johnson. Who gets paid?
Maybe nobody. Like one of the linebackers, one of the two, maybe both.
Werner or Gay.
Yeah, I think
Whoever
it's kind of
stands
a
up.
battle.
Yeah.
I can't say on Chase Young yet until we see him on the field. So it really comes down to Alvin. Alvin's a big question, right?
And Paulson Adebo is a big question mark.
What do you think they do with Paulson?
I think they pay him. I just look. I hope it's. I don't know. Is Shangri-La the right word? Is Shangri-La paradise?
Yeah,
Everybody loves each other with Marshawn Lattimore, and it's a long-term commitment, and he's back to being one of the top, elite corners in the league, and there's no questions about his future. But how can there not be questions about Marshawn Lattimore's long-term future? So Paulson Adebo has another season anywhere close to he had last year. Maybe you lock that in. They did draft Kool-Aid McKinstry, so maybe they can roll the dice there. But he's the one I almost feel the best about. If I had to bet on somebody getting another deal,
I will say this though, I don't feel like there's any sure things in this class.
I agree.
Like, sure things they have to pay him, as in like Paulson, if he has a season like last year, I'm all the way in. And I've said it a million times. Year before last, like we all felt like he was gonna have the season he had last year, the year before, and then he got hurt and stuff, and it never really happened. So there probably should be a little bit more belief about what he can do. But if he does it again, that becomes more of a sure thing. But I think as it sits now, I don't know that there's anything that I feel, because look, Paulson should get paid really good money based on last year, but I don't know how strongly I feel about it. And I think he will probably repeat it, but let me see it. And if I see it, I'm all the way in on that one. But I don't think there's any surefire, easy, you got to do that type decisions here.
And if you're not subscribed and you want to continue to see us, make sure that you subscribe to NewOrleans.Football /subscribe to have access to overtime and all the articles and analysis that we write throughout the season. That'll do it for this episode of NewOrleans.Football. Overtime is next. Catch you next time.